Level design has come a long way since the good old days of walking from left to right, with the odd vertical jump to really spice things up. Whoa! The detail that goes into building a game world now is nothing short of extraordinary when you think about it. Dynamic traffic systems, dynamic weather patterns, dynamic ball shrinkage on horses, depending on how hot or cold it is. In fact, you might argue it's all gone a bit too far. But lucky for Seabiscuit here, size isn't everything. These days, you'd be hard-pressed to find a Ubisoft title that doesn't feature hundreds of square miles of game world littered with thousands of map icons per square meter, but it's the smaller details that really add up to create a sense of immersion that square mileage alone can't manage. Cleverly designed interconnected areas reward a sense of exploration, while seamlessly disguised loading screens, or no loading at all, keep us firmly in the moment. So, let's have a look at some of the prime examples of wonderful world building, shall we? In no particular order, here are 10 seamless game worlds that took our breath away. Number 10, Far Cry 3. Over the last 15 years, Far Cry has helped define the open-world sandbox shooter. But like a golden-haired trespasser breaking into a house of bears, it took a few goes before everything was just right. While the series' debut in 2004 followed a more linear story-driven route, Far Cry 2's fictional African setting made things a little too real, in that fast travel across such a vast area was limited to bus rides or 10-minute drives in your car, i.e., not fast travel. Slow travel, maybe. On top of that, there was a weapon and vehicle degradation system, and you had to pop a malaria tablet every 30 minutes. But Far Cry 3 balanced things perfectly, with a lush, beautiful island to explore in numerous ways, some of them fast, and a narrative that kept driving you forward, if only to get to the next bit with Vaz. The small details really sold the world too, with first-person animations like dislocated fingers being snapped back into place for all the brutal realism you can stomach, and hey, any game that uses a door opening animation in place of loading screens for building interiors is nailing the seamless open world thang, if you ask us. Number 9, Burnout Paradise. An open-world Burnout game? It's just GTA without the shooting, scoffed many skeptics when developers Criterion first laid out their ambitious city-wide plans for the crash-heavy racing series. But while GTA had popularized the open-world joyride genre, titles like Crazy Taxi and Driver, if you could get past the tutorial that is, had already proved that non-shooty car games could work in a more free environment, and damn, Burnout Paradise set a whole new standard. With nary a loading screen in sight and the few in-game menus mostly tied to the odd garage stop to upgrade your motor, the flow of this game was pure driving bliss. Every race event and challenge was started contextually in the world of Paradise City itself, adding a sense of realism and immersion that we never knew we wanted out of an otherwise arcadey racing series. Cruising down the freeway with Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend shamelessly blaring out without the fear of judgmental pedestrians, you could easily pull over and start a race that took your fancy, or you could just carry on, drifting through the streets, smashing into billboards, and letting the road take you wherever it wanted, which sometimes meant a rush hour pileup. Classic Burnout, I guess. Number 8, God of War. For the last time, it's not open world, it's wide linear. God of War's creative director Cory Barlog is pretty adamant about this one, and it's best not to argue with the man responsible for scenes like this, especially with a surname so close to Balrog. But this wide linear Angry Dad simulator doesn't have to be open world to qualify for this list. It's sure as hell a seamless experience. There's certainly a more open feeling here than in previous God of War installments. You're encouraged to explore with more branching paths and verticality in the level design. Each area is cleverly constructed to guide you towards the goal, whether through subtle visual clues or not so subtle mean dudes guarding the more advanced areas. Either way, you won't stray away from the main story for too long. Best of all though, is it's not just the world that's seamless, but the game's presentation as a whole. If there's one thing I bloody love, it's long, unbroken, single-take scenes. Big fan of the movie Children of Men right here. And Jesus Christ, God of War doesn't feature a single loading screen or camera cut across its entire runtime. Kratos literally has a lone cameraman accompanying him right across the game, like some sort of Norse equivalent of Man vs. Wild. God, I just hope he has a strong stomach. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God, they didn't prepare him for that at Media College. Number 7, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Okay, so The Witcher 3 is a bit like a Rosetta Stone guide to dodgy British accents.
Defecating to the sunrise, downright glorious.
But if we can overlook the iffy stereotypes, it's an otherwise incredible gameplay experience. I know I'm on record saying I've never quite managed to commit to playing Wild Hunt for long periods of time, but that's really more a reflection on my laziness than the game's quality. I just find it so overwhelming, but in kind of a good way. From its grand-scale politics of the ongoing war, highlighting the murky moral grey areas that some fantasy stories shy away from, to the minute details like Roach trotting off to find some water or Geralt's subtle flick of his scabbard for a smoother sword-sheathing experience, sponsored by Jorex. While the main sections of the world are technically separate areas, things like caves and building interiors are all seamlessly integrated to a degree you don't expect upon your first playthrough. Numerous nods to bygone plot points also add to the game's internal consistency, with previously sentenced wrong-uns discovered post-punishment, and even Yen's crow from the first cutscene actually able to be found and returned. Perhaps most amazingly in terms of attention to detail is that if you ported across your Witcher 2 save data on PC, Geralt still has the tattoo he got after a mad weekend with the lads. No more Jaeger bombs for you, young man. Number 6, Spider-Man. Does whatever a spider can. When was the last time you saw a spider doing this? Spider-Man does a lot more than a spider can. Now, in fairness, this is no Arkham Knight with its complete lack of loading screens, whether you're indoors, outdoors, or shake it all about doors. Walking into, say, Doc Ock's lab is gonna set you back a few seconds of your life. But that takes nothing away from just how wonderfully uninterrupted your exploits in the New York overworld will be. This is all the seamless gameplay I need from a Spider-Man sim. This stunningly rendered city that never sleeps has an incredible amount of detail across its miles upon miles of streets. From building interiors visible through windows, adoring public to interact with down on the ground, and plenty of random encounters with dirty, stinking crims everywhere you go. And as if the horrendously enjoyable swing mechanics aren't enough for you, you can spend your time hunting for collectible backpacks with handy expositional items inside, visiting famous landmarks and taking some glorious #NoFilter Insta shots. Follow me at that Peter Austin, by the way. Or even, oh, hello, what's this? Stop the pigeon, stop the pigeon, stop the pigeon. Number 5, Half-Life 2. As tired as all the Half-Life 3 memes have gotten, it's still sad to think a whole generation of gamers won't even understand them, let alone appreciate what Half-Life 2 achieved back in 2004. Don't worry, I'll get off the high horse in a minute. But first, let's have a bit of a throwback to some world-class game design. Yes, Half-Life 2 was one of the original purveyors of cleverly placed loading corridors. And what's more, on either side of those corridors were brilliantly paced scenes of intense combat, platform puzzles, and exploration. The introduction of new mechanics also followed a commendable learn-by-doing mentality, because players don't want to be fed long reams of tutorial text. We want to be given a gravity gun and then just work out for ourselves that we can chuck buzzsaws and 2x4s at the stupid shambling faces of these zombie fellas. And the real genius, as far as immersion is concerned in 2004, was that the game never took control away from the player. All the cinematics were seen through the eyes of Mr. Freeman himself, or ignored if you were too busy shooting hoops with a gravity gun. Classic Gordon. Number 4, GTA 5. Ah yes, Grand Tours Arithmetic V, that's Roman numerals for 5, was the hit mathematical adventure for all ages that took the educational video game market by storm. It even managed to achieve its stunning success despite the relentless competition of a rather more violent, not safe for classrooms GTA, one that's been redefining the open world crime genre for over 2 decades. No, but seriously, Grand Theft Auto 5. This game makes the list mostly on merit of being the most recent version, but the series has been pushing the 3D sandbox boundaries since GTA 3, making ever more beautiful demonstrations of how to get your license revoked, or the army called out to an ordinary quiet suburb. God, I expect we're really bringing the house prices down right now. GTA 5's technological advantage, of course, makes it the greatest achiever of the series so far, with a city covering almost 50 square miles. A road trip from the curbs of Grove Street to the heights of Mount Chiliad reveals the staggering attention to detail plastered across every city block, every field, and every Sasquatch. What? What are you talking about? I'm not. What? Number 3, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Zelda games. They're a bit like seeing an old friend after a long time. Comfortably familiar with the same entertaining quirks you know and love, but just maybe wearing a new hat or something. I like it suits you. Now, to stick with the analogy for just a minute, Breath of the Wild does arguably feel like since you saw that friend last, they've decided to sort of go travelling and find themselves and really work out what it means to be me on sort of a spiritual and almost primal level, and come back garbed in charm bracelets, banging on about drum circles and shrines and open world survivalist freedom. You've changed, man. What happened to all the flashy dungeons and heart pieces and da-na-na-na? But all is forgiven as soon as you climb your first peak and gaze out at the world of possibilities. The beautiful environment of Bottu is an explorer's dream, allowing you to go in any direction you like from the off. Spot an interesting landmark off in the distance? Go and check it out. Nothing's stopping you. Rather than blocking certain areas until a prerequisite item is found, just jog on, Mido. Let me through. Nobody likes you. More subtle hints are used to simply deter you, like tough as nails enemies or chilly weather conditions. Exploration dances side by side with experimentation, as objects interact with the environment in logical, satisfying ways. Torches keep you warmer in the cold, snowballs get bigger when rolled down a hill, fires can be started to create an updraft to fly high in the air, or by channeling true Zelda logic, you can even bait enemies into punching a bird and getting absolutely Hitchcocked. Nature's justice. Number 2, Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar certainly know how to make 'em. This snow-wading, horse-patting, stew-slurping Old West epic broke so many records when it was released, and for good reason. Meaningful characters, memorable encounters, and a level of breathtaking detail push the limits of immersion and storytelling like never before. This was a world that felt real. A world that didn't really care you were the protagonist with gun in hand, because it had its own things going on, so you just do what you're doing or move on, you idiot. I'm just trying to be a world here. Just leave me. People worked in the fields, got into fist fights outside saloons, hunted in the wilderness, and occasionally recreated scenes from The Revenant with the knocked off bear. The game map was vast, and the limited fast travelling that was included slotted neatly into the world, with carriage and train rides and the camp travel system presenting cinematic shots of an epic cross-country gallop. And there was the horse bollocks thing too, if you're into that. I mean, I keep bringing it up all the time, so I suppose I must be. And number 1, Dark Souls. According to legend, in the Age of Ancients, the world was unformed, but then there was fire, and with fire came some seriously hot world design. Sizzle. When most people hear Dark Souls, they think about unforgiving difficulty and unfathomable lore, but persist past the first couple of areas and the plot thickens. The moment comes when you first get your skeletal structure rearranged by the unit that is Havel the Rock Johnson. I don't like this, you decide, and so you book it out of there and spend a couple of hours delving down a different path. What's this? A hidden door? Brilliant! A new area to explore, you think to yourself. Except, it's your boy. Round 2. This is a wondrous moment of revelation as you realise, wait, this bit connects up to that bit, and going forward, you'll find that all kinds of neighbourhoods are interconnected in a wonderful web of shortcuts, hidden paths, and lifts. And as you begin to unravel it all, the sense of discovery is also grossly incandescent. In a world separated by only a few loading screens, the urge to discover new paths pushes you through the pain, making it all worth it when you find a whole new location. to die in. The art of sploring is an underrated part of the Magic Soulsborne formula, and when you're rewarded for your progress with views like this, it's hard not to fall in love with the series. And that's our list, but what other game worlds left you breathless? Let us know in the comments below. You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and if you want to support the things you enjoy, then check out the rewards on our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.